Hello, and welcome back to Mini Adventures Mini, and I'd like to wish everybody a happy Halloween. I hope it goes well for everybody, whether you're partying, going trick or treating for yourself or with some kids, or whether you stay home and hang out with some friends or just on your own, or if you're like me, if you have to go to work. So I'll be doing that this evening when I go in to work my night shift. So I hope everybody has a happy Halloween, but we'll go ahead and move on here. There were a lot of options for me for doing a Halloween video. You got a lot of your classic monsters like your zombies and your vampires and the like, but I wanted to do something a little bit outside the norm for this kind of thing, so I was thinking around a little bit, looking through some of the stuff that I had access to, and I found these really cool Artisan Guild files for gargoyles, which I thought looked really cool, and I kind of liked the idea of having some gargoyles. I haven't really run them in my D&D games before. They're not too powerful of a creature, so it's something you can reasonably use in low-level games, which you tend to play more frequently anyway. It's just kind of what happens. So I thought, why not? I will print out a cadre of gargoyles to menace my players at some future date, and it makes a great Halloween video. So I will show you the miniatures that I printed out. I went ahead and just did all the printing and prepping. I printed out a total of like 6 gargoyles, but I'm only going to show like 3 because it's just a couple duplicates here. But there's 3 unique sculpts that I'll show you how I painted. It's all more or less the same technique across all of them, but this is a nice and easy technique showing how to paint the gargoyles because it's something that I believe even a novice painter would be able to do pretty easily. I would consider this like a great kind of miniature to paint for a beginner painter. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and we'll jump in and I'll show you how I painted these. Alright, so starting off here, you can see these 3 different sculpts I've got for these different cool gargoyles that I got off of the Artisan Guild for joining their Patreon. So this first one here is a gargoyle crouching on a pillar, and then a running gargoyle, and then lastly one that's just kind of standing in more of a neutral pose. But they're all great sculpts, but just starting off here, I did prep them with primer and everything, but I'm just using my dark stone army painter paint here, and I'm using the airbrush just to save time. Pretty much you can do this just by applying it with a brush, but I'm just giving everything a thorough base coat in this dark stone. I like it because it's kind of like a dark, slightly brownish gray, and works as a great base tone for anything that is supposed to look like stone. And since gargoyles are supposed to look like stone, that's what I went with. And then afterwards, I give everything a coating of my homemade black wash. I'm doing my best to not let this pool too much. I just want it to only barely be sitting in the recesses, but I do want it across the entire model. So you don't want huge pools of it sitting anywhere, but you do want it to have a proper coating everywhere, and you want it to actually be in all of the recesses. So I just go ahead and give that coating across everything, and soaking up where it's pooling where I don't want to, and just keep an eye on it as you go, and do the same thing. And I'm even applying that to the pillar, and I'm doing all these same steps on the rocks on the base as well. So that's one of the reasons this is so new painter friendly, because there's really not much to this. It's base coat, wash, and then I'm using these 3 colors next: the uniform gray, ash gray, and skeleton bone. And then starting with the uniform gray, I just get a little bit on a wider flat brush and brush it all off on my little paper towel here until there's hardly any paint at all. Like you really can't even tell there's any coming off of the brush on the paper towel, and then I just brush it across the raised surfaces. I don't want to go along with the raised surfaces because that will then put it into my shadows, but doing my best to go across perpendicular to any lines in the geometry of the model. I just do a basic back and forth motion, and I'm trying to do this very thoroughly That way I'll just have a slight transition into my dark stone and the black wash in the recesses, but hopefully this will be a nice middle ground with the gray, and the dark stone should just be kind of something in the background that isn't super noticed until you look really closely or whatnot. It's really just there to be kind of like an undercoat, and it's there if you happen to see it underneath the gray and between the black and the resource in the recesses of what's going on there. So, and I also apply this on the base as well. And dry brushing is one of the first techniques most new painters learn, and these are great models to practice on, because stone is your classic dry brush texture. It looks great with dry brushing, and well, dry brushing isn't always the right approach for everything. It's usually the right approach for most stone applications. So it works pretty good with stuff like that. So as I'm showing again, it's just you use the uniform gray to get kind of a rough mid-tone on everything here. But this is where everything really starts to pop. I'm coming in with my ash gray next, and I'm using this to just kind of try and help define my light versus dark areas, so wherever any light might be shining down from. So I'm only dry brushing in one direction to try and illustrate the light coming down on these. So I'm doing a very much top to bottom dry brush effect, and I'm trying to avoid doing it on the undersides of things like the wings. And then my next step, I really like suede, or in this case like bone colors, and adding that as a final like very light dry brush to stone effects, because I feel like adding that extra color outside of normal gray goes a long way to bringing it out and really making it look like it's made out of stone. Because if you look at stone, most of it's not just flat gray. That's kind of unnatural looking. And then here I'm getting started on my own little touch here. I use a little bit of matte white and put it in the eye sockets here for the recesses. And then I use a little bit of this pure red on the matte white. I do the matte white on these just to give the red something to sit on to let the color show through better, because right now I've just got black wash in the eye sockets, so nothing really shows up all that well. So if I put a little bit of white in there first, the red shows up a lot more vibrantly and makes it look like they've got some evil glowing red eyes. So this is a little bit of an extra step. I don't think this is something that would be too difficult for a beginner to do, but it's also a step that could easily be skipped if you want to. And then for the last little bit, I'm just applying a little bit of glue here to the bottoms of the bases and putting on this very fine short flocking to give the effect of like short grass or like moss even. So, and then my last step here is the matte varnish. This is my preferred Vallejo matte varnish, and I just give everything a thorough coating with that and let it dry. And then here we got the finished products. I'm really proud with the way that these turned out. They look great, and they definitely look like some sort of living stone monster. So you can see here with the pillar gargoyle, the running gargoyle, and with the standing gargoyle as well. It really did get exactly the effect I'm going for, and it doesn't take very long, it's just a little bit of patience. Here also I threw together a little setup of what it might look like in an encounter with some gargoyles fighting adventures in a stone hallway, so I thought that would be pretty cool. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here then. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said at the beginning, this is a very simple paint scheme. It doesn't take very long to do. I mean, you need a little bit of patience with all the dry brushing in order to make sure you don't overdo it and have too much paint on the brush. But other than that, it's just like a little bit of patience, and it doesn't take all that long, and you get a really nice effect without having to do all that much work into it. I did maybe even more than you would necessarily need to. You could probably get away with just dry brushing once or twice, and you'd be perfectly fine with how it came out. I would most likely expect that to be the case. So, but moving on, so kind of like a last minute announcement here, I'm starting to close in on my first major milestone for me of getting 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, but I want to do kind of a giveaway for the 100 subscriber milestone. So if you know anybody who wants to potentially get involved with that kind of thing, once I hit 100 subscribers, I am going to try and put a video together for a miniature giveaway. It'll be something that I paint personally. I'm going to try and make it something pretty cool. So I hope that gets people kind of invested in helping me get some more subscribers. And depending on how it goes, I'm hoping to potentially start doing something like a monthly giveaway for patrons on my Patreon. I'll be adding a tier for potentially doing a monthly giveaway depending on how that 100 subscriber giveaway goes. So people who are interested in seeing that, recommend my channel to some friends and get me up to 100 subscribers, and we will look at doing that giveaway. So that's all I really have to say. So if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. That helps out a lot. If you have any feedback, please put it in the comment section down below. And if you want to catch more of my videos in the future, please subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever any of my videos go up. If you would like to help support me, please check out the links to my Patreon page down below, as well as my Etsy store, where you can find some of the things that I have painted and put up for sale. In addition, you can also check out my Facebook page, where I'll put up announcements for when videos go out, and sometimes leaks and teasers for upcoming videos and other things that I'm working on. And with that, I hope to see everybody here again next week.